Stateline Sports Reporter podcast. Hey, the gang is all here. We haven't really all been together since like the second or third episode. It's been like a mishmash of different people, but this is a big occasion, so we got to get everybody together for this. The Tennessee Vols, for the first time since the 1950s. You had it last night. Do you remember what year specifically?
51, so really beginning of the 50s.
Even I wasn't born back then. They're headed to the championship series of the College World Series. I mean, just to put this in perspective, I think I saw that this is the first time that the Tennessee Vols team has a chance to win the championship since like 2011. The women's track team, I think, won the championship. I think before that, you got to go back to women's basketball, and then men's football in '97, I think, is when they won their championship with Philip Fulmer. So it's been a long time for Tennessee. So first of all, you guys have been watching the World Series. You were actually there for a little bit, so I'll start with you first. Just your impressions of this team. What have you seen?
I think that this team I was talking to some other people. They haven't, on paper, been the best Tennessee team that we've seen in recent years. But in execution, it just seems like everything is clicking. Has been all season, but truly right now they're playing just great baseball on the pitching side of things, on obviously offensively. And I just think that, I mean, the atmosphere in Omaha was electric, and you saw the support and you saw how excited Vols fans were with the possibilities of what this team could achieve.
It's pretty impressive when you think about, too, how quickly that they've gotten here with Tony Vitello. I think this is his seventh year. Yeah. I mean, it's not like super quick, but I mean, to be this consistently good and now playing for a championship is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, this team, to me, if you're looking at it, like Lauren said, if you look on paper, but if you just watch using the eye test, it just screams national champion. I don't know what it is. If you look at some of these past teams that have won it all the past few years, it's just a team that has everything in place. It has the leadership. It has the experience. There's a lot of guys on this team that this is their third trip to Omaha, so they know what this moment is like, and they've shown that they don't back down. They don't falter when things get bad. We saw that comeback win against Florida State. I mean, it's just a team that knows what they're doing. They're there for a mission, and they have probably one of the best team camaraderies we've seen in quite some time. And you can credit Vitello for kind of building that kind of culture they have, and it just screams national champion. I mean, 3 games left, maybe only 2. We'll see.
They're just so clutch to me. Yeah. I mean, every time I see them, and they need a hit. You mentioned the comeback against Florida State, but every time they need a hit, they get a hit. It's just incredible. I've watched a lot of baseball in my days, you know, before either one of you were around. I've never seen a team so clutch. It's really very impressive. So when you're looking at these teams, what's your favorite storyline on this Vols team? What's maybe something people aren't talking about? Is it a player or something? I mean, I'll start with mine, and then you guys can kind of follow. So for me, I love watching Dylan Dreiling, and it's because I have a kind of a connection to him. I worked in Hays, Kansas before I moved here. His grandfather is an absolute coaching legend in Hays. His name is Frank Leo, and shout out to Frank, and he might be back in Hays that might watch the podcast. He was a high school baseball coach. He coaches the college Woodbat Summer League team there. He's been to something called the MBS World Series, which is the National Woodbat Baseball World Series, where they bring in teams from Alaska and all over the place to play in Wichita. He's been to the championship 4 times and never won it. So for the Dreiling/Leo family, I would love to see them get a championship finally for that family, because they're a great family. Frank Leo is one of my favorite people on the planet. So what about you guys? Either one of you that wants to go?
Me personally, I'm a big Billy Amick guy. He started at Clemson, transferred. Originally, there were some sour feelings there, but I'm excited to see what he can do. But truly my favorite storyline, and if you're looking at social media, I'm seeing it all over social media. I don't know if everyone else is. The relationship between Xander Sechrist and Kirby Cannell, I mean, the two energies, they just feed off of each other, and they've both been around for so many years. And I think if they could pull this team together and get them to rally around and finish the job and end their Tennessee careers with a national championship, I just think that would be so special, and it's just so fun watching them. I mean, Tony Vitello said he's one of the weirdest men on the team. And I just think that seeing how fun they are interacting with each other, I think that would just be amazing to see them finish
And so
it.
opposite. Like watching the post-game interview last night, it's like, how are those two friends? Because they don't even speak the same. It's crazy to watch the two of them interact. Anyone or anything that you're watching?
So I was going to mention Kirby just because we've been following him throughout this ride, and his last ride in his 5th year at the Vols, talking to his brother Cody, who's the head coach at David Crockett, just kind of seeing the love and support that he gets. He's like a true Vol, and it's awesome that he's from our region. But to go off something different than that, it's more of a team thing and a university thing as a whole. You mentioned at the beginning how long it's been since which is crazy, because if you think of all the great Vols teams from all the sports over the years, that it's been that long since they've been this close to a national title. So I think the fact that they're here, I think, is a huge storyline, not just for baseball, but for the entire university and Vols Nation.
You also need to give a shout out to Kobe Backus, because he's actually gotten to play a little bit of a role in this. You know, he hasn't played a huge role this season, but when they've needed him, he's stepped up and he's gotten in the game and got some things done.
Yeah, he got a walk, made it all the way around, touched all 4, scored a run, and he got the last out of the game, caught a ball out in center field, came in for Hunter Ensley when he absolutely smacked into that wall.
Did you see that? Could you hear it? Were you there for that?
I was not. I was not. That was the last game that I was in Omaha for. We were watching it in the surrounding area, but it was, I mean, that catch was insane. Then last night you had Kavaris Steers come in, do exactly the same thing. I mean, when you're laying it out on the line that much, you're going hard for that national championship.
And that's another thing about this team, though, is that just the effort that you see from top to bottom. And then talking about Backus, anyone comes in and steps up when they need them to. They're so deep, and you have a culture where everyone knows that they're the next man up. They take that on, and I think that's why we see them here going into the final.
I think it's impressive too in the era of NIL that Vitale has been able to keep this group together, you know, for this run. There are a lot of guys on this team that have been to 3 College World Series, and that's hard to do. I don't care what sport you're in. When you've got that much talent, I mean, they may not be able to have an SEC team steal them, but there's no reason why, like, you wouldn't have, like, a College of Charleston coming after some of these guys, or someplace that can give them more playing time, you know, especially like a Backus. But they just stick around, and they're committed to this, and that's a huge part of their success.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's also finding the right pieces to fill in, because they've sent so many guys to the league. I mean, they had a big loss in Chase Burns. People had a lot of questions about this team heading in, losing an arm like that, and clearly they've had the people step up and make the impact that they need to have.
So what do we think going into Saturday's game?
Should be fun. I mean, they've only played, so this is, of course, it makes it even more interesting that it's an SEC kind of showdown with Texas A&M. They've only met once this year, and that was in the SEC tournament. And that was actually a game that saved the Vols from going home early in the SEC tournament. That's kind of when everyone was kind of freaking out, and they lost that opening one, got smoked by Vanderbilt, and it was like, uh-oh, this doesn't look good. But they bounced back and haven't looked back since then from that win against Texas A&M. So it's kind of fitting that we go back to that at the end of May. Now they're meeting for the title. I think that if Tennessee keeps riding the momentum they have, I know Texas A&M's been cruising too, but if they can come out like they have, if they set the tone in game 1, I think it's theirs to take.
You got any thoughts on it?
I think, I mean, both teams have just been so solid all season, and you really have, I mean, Tennessee has the chance, I think I saw somewhere online, to get the most ever SEC wins in a season if they win it all. So that would be really impressive, really exciting. But I don't know. I mean, anything can happen in the SEC. It's a good thing that it's a 3-game series. My biggest thing is just seeing how the pitching falls out, because you saw, I mean, they used Drew Beam a couple of days ago. That's one of their big guys. So it's just, they just used Xander. Who are we going to see on the mound? I think that'll be the key. Both teams haven't really had to use, they've used the least arms in the tournament. They both had the clean path straight there. So that's my big question mark. I think Tennessee offensively can hold their own, that's for sure.
I don't know who writes these scripts, but I love it. It just always seems like, you know, great stories, because you mentioned, you know, A&M is basically who not saved their season, because they were going to make the tournament anyway, but really, you know, helped them turn things around again on this run. And here it is, the rematch. You know, A&M wants that game back, right? I mean, they want to be able to avenge that. So I thank you to the sports gods, the script writers of this, because I think it's going to be a great series. I actually think Tennessee might sweep them. When you are that hot in any sport, gosh, it's hard to knock a team like that down.
I will say, one thing I know for sure, the support will be out in Omaha, because I think you have two very passionate fan bases, very excited to see this matchup come
And
out.
hungry fan bases, too.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very. Nothing like SEC fans.
Any final thoughts from anyone? Anyone want to be bold like me and make a prediction?
I mean,
I'm taking
Vols.
it 3.
I'm
I'm taking it 3 just for the excitement that a winner-take-all game 3 brings. You know, get it down to the nitty-gritty. Who's going to take that last one? But I mean, I think we cover Tennessee. I think
you got to pick Tennessee.
We got to pick Tennessee. I was rolling with Tennessee in Omaha, so.
take Vols. I'm hoping it's a 3-game series, though.
I mean, it would certainly be more exciting, but I just don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be hard to beat Tennessee at this point, the way that they're playing. Well, thank you guys for joining us on this edition of the Stateline Sports Reporters. And I guess since we're all picking Tennessee, go Big Orange, go Vols.